נשוי וلا לסה? נשוי או עוד לא?
נשוי 5 ילדים.
שתהיה בריא, שהקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור עליהם.
תתחיל עם הרצון, אבל איך אני...
Okay, gentlemen.
מפריע לי.
Right. We're good? Okay. So, I'm just going to give a devar torah לעילוי נשמת המנוח, מורנו ורבנו רבי יוסף בן אורה, הנני כפרת משכבו. Before I give the devar torah, I just want to say one thing. So people get different types of nachalot, they get different types of inheritances. So, a person can leave his son of business, right? So the son has to continue the business, or a person can leave his son some real estate, and the son has to know how to manage the real estate assets. And different types of nachalot. My father left me torah. He not only taught me torah, but he taught me how to study torah. So a lot of times I'm studying things and I think of things and I analyze things, and I know that my father would have been happy. I know my father would have been happy hearing the divrei Torah that I'm thinking of, that I'm saying. So this is just one of many, many, many examples. So even though I'm not mentioning my father's name every other second, but it's his Torah. It's his Torah speaking through me. So I just want to read a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. As my community members know, we're studying Pirkei Avot now. We're still studying Pirkei Avot, even though it's past the time. It's something that it's good to be mosif. It's good to be mosif on the study of Pirkei Avot. So I just want to study one Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. It's in Perek Halacha Aleph. The Mishnah says, "Be'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam." The world was created in 10 statements. So there's 10 bold statements. So if you look at the Perashat Bereshit, the beginning of Perashat Bereshit, where it describes the creation of the world, it says, Vayomer Elohim yahi or, Vayomer Elohim yikavu hamayim, Vayomer Elohim tacheh ha'aretz. So how many times do you have the word Vayomer? So actually, well, if you count it, it's not 10. It's actually 9, right? But the Chachamim say, and Rambam says in the Perush Mishnayot, the first Bereshit bara Elohim, that's the most bold statement of all, right? Namely, the idea of creation, that itself was the first statement. So a total of asara ma'amarot. So why is that important? Uma tilmod lomar. Everybody reads it, Uma talmud lomar, and I know that's a common reading. My father taught me to read tilmod lomar, so I'm following his reading. Uma tilmod lomar. So what would you learn from this? Okay, so the Chachamim are telling us, count the number of statements in the beginning of the book of Bereshit, and it comes out to 10. Okay, great, and why would I even care? So the Chachamim don't just say things. If the Chachamim are saying things, it's because they want us to think and to focus and to learn. So what is it the Chachamim want us to learn in this case? And the thing is that the world could have been created in one statement. He could have said, Vayomer Elohim yahi or, Yikavu hamayim bitachat hashamayim tacheh ha'aretz, and so on. Why do you have to say Vayomer Elohim, Vayomer Elohim, Vayomer Elohim? One statement and that's it, of course. So why 10? Unusual answer. It comes to teach us that when God punishes Reshaim for being Reshaim, He's going to punish them bad. You know why He's going to punish them bad? Because the world is incredible. It was created with 10 bold statements of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not just a simple, imagine like I have this art and easel, and I'm going to draw something on this blank paper, and I do a dot. And somebody comes and takes my work of art, the dot, and you have that at the Museum of Modern Art, right? You go, okay, but I don't understand that so well. So forgive the disrespect. So somebody takes it and throws it on the floor. Like, what are you doing? Hey, it's just one dot. I mean, come on, give me a break. Like, you didn't do anything here. Okay, but now imagine like I spent I have this beautiful canvas and I'm doing this amazing painting with different colors and all. And now somebody comes and throws it on the floor. I'm like, what the heck did you just do? Do you know how much work I put into that? Do you know what you just threw on the floor? So anyway, so the Mishnah says that like this, the Reshaim, when Hashem comes to the Rasha and he holds him in judgment, he says, look what you just did. You ruined my world. Okay, so let me explain that. And v'litan sachar tov l'sadikim, and also to reward the sadikim. If somebody does the mitzvot, puts on tefillin, eats kosher, shomer Shabbat, Hashem says, you help create my world. You help sustain the world. Shemikayemin et ha'olam, shenivra ba'asara ma'amarot. So that's a Mishnah. It's an interesting Mishnah. Do the Reshaim really ruin the world? Do the Sadiqim really sustain the world? I mean, God needs our help. Is that what this is about? So first, I want to ask a question. It says, "Be'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam." That's true, because the world is nivra. What does it mean? It's nivra. So, according to Aristotle, the world is eternal. The Greek philosophers generally say the world is eternal. So there's no beriah. It was always there. Plato says something similar. He says there was a pre-creation matter, and from that pre-creation matter, which was always there, by the way, that's how God created the world. Okay. Torah says, Bereshit bara Elohim. What does it mean, bara? This is a chidush of my father. I can actually say it. It's bara, in the Gemara, what do you have? You have a baraita. You have Mishnayot, and you have a baraita. A Mishnah is that which was included, those halachot which were included in the formal redaction of the Torah Shebe'al Peh. So that's the Mishnah. What's a baraita? A baraita are those Mishnayot which were not included. So what does the word barra mean? Anybody speak Arabic? Barra. Outside. So what's a baraita? A baraita are those halachot that are outside the formal redaction of the Torah Shebe'al Peh. They're outside. So what is Bereshit bara Elohim? So it means that the world that God creates, the world that we're in now, is bara, is outside of Him. It has nothing to do with Him. There's a cut. There is a complete, infinite chasm between the Creator and the world. Bereshit bara Elohim. Et hashamayim. So be'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam. So the world is created yesh me'ayin. But how is it then that the Rasha ruins the world? And what do we mean when we say that God is outside the world? So I want you to go back and think about not a painting. That's one art form. I want you to think about a writer, an author, a person writing a book. So imagine I'm sitting down, I have some quiet, I have a good espresso, I'm in a good mood, and I begin to write. I begin to write, and I'm thinking as I'm inspired, I'm writing down words, and I write this beautiful story. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. So when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating the world, there's a pasuk. It says, Bidvar Adonai Shamayim Na'asu. Do you know what the heavens are? Do you know what the world is? Do you know what the cosmos is? It's God's speech. It's His artwork. It's His literary creation. And we mean this literally. When Moshe Rabbeinu is told by God, listen, I've had it with the Jewish people, like, come on, let's just forget about them, and how about I take you and I make you the leader of the new nation, after Eigal HaZahav. What does Moshe Rabbeinu tell God? Mechenina misifrecha asher katata. He says, this is your book? Okay, it's your book. Listen, you're the author. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Mechenina, erase me from the story. He's saying, you want to erase them? I want you to erase me. But what does he call it? A book, a story. So the world is a story. It's God's book. My father wrote a beautiful article on this. Okay. Writing and dissimulation, right? Writing and dissimulation, in which really my father shows how the Hachamim understood the universe as God's literary creation. So now let's go back to the Rasha. You know what the Rasha does? He ruins the world. You know how the Rasha ruins the world? Because there's an amazing story It's beautiful. The world is gorgeous. Everything in the natural world, which is created by God, is just gorgeous. Just be alone in nature and look at the wonders around you, right? Who is not inspired? Just go to a forest in Vermont. Go to the ocean here down the block. Go to a beautiful mountain in the Rockies, Rocky Mountain High. The world is gorgeous. Why are these bad things happening in this story? God wrote this beautiful story, and you know who stains it? We stain it. We ruin the story. Suddenly there's a terrible chapter in the book. Oh my gosh. World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, the Inquisition. Oh my gosh. You're ruining my story. And it's a beautiful story. I love the story. I made 10 ma'amarot, and 10 ma'amarot of God. It's not like 10 statements of us. It's like, it's 10 literary creations, each one deeper than the other. And on the other hand, when the tzaddikim are there, and there's a tzaddik, and Hashem looks at the tzaddik and says, you were shomer Shabbat. Thank you. Thank you. You just made my story a beautiful, beautiful book. You were eating kosher. You treated people nicely. You treated people with respect. You helped that old lady carry some bags. What a beautiful story. I'm so happy with what you did. That's the point of the Mishnah. The point of the Mishnah is God creates this world. He puts us in this world. We're characters in His story, but we're free to do whatever we want to do. And if we do something good, God says, Hazaku Baruch, thank you. You just made my story a beautiful one. And I want to end just about this, because this is something I don't know when I'm going to do this exactly, but I want to do it. Maybe in a month I'll start, maybe in a year, I'm not sure. But, I've been thinking about, and I read my father's article on evolution. It's not published. And he quotes Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozeg, and it's so important, because there is a deception going on. And I mean that literary, in a literary fashion, a literal fashion, I'm sorry. I mean it in a literal fashion. There is a deception going on. And the deception is that the theory of evolution is the scientific theory that explains the origin of life, and that it is absolutely incontrovertible and correct. That's simply not true. That is simply not true. Okay? And the reason it's not true, and there's a lot to say about that, and I will say it, Billy Neda. But the most important point is the world has such complexity of information that it cannot be reduced to the simplicity of Darwin's morphological explanation for the origin of the species. And I just want to tell you what I mean by that. God is a writer. He encoded in the world an incredible amount of information. Now, anybody here who deals with computers, software programming, writing binary code, will understand that nature doesn't just produce information. That's not correct. There is no natural process in the world through which information can be encoded, delivered, unpackaged, and acted upon. And all this happens in the human cell. The human cell contains these DNA strands that encode information, and the encoding of information in those molecules is not something that Darwin in any way or any scientist can explain, right? But it's not just the encoding of information, it's the fact that there are machines in the cell that can read the information. And it's not just that there are machines in the cell that can read the information. Well, how can it read? Well, who taught it to read? But there are other machines in the cell that can act upon that information and produce further proteins which allow the body to exist. So this is part of my father's view of the universe. The universe is a complex book. It contains data. It was written by God. What is our job in this world? Our job in this world is to make it beautiful, is to make it pleasant, not just for us, to make it pleasant for all of humanity, to make it pleasant for all of God's creations. That's the great lesson of this Mishnah. And I want to say that my father was a writer also. He wrote many books. He wrote many articles. He had a lot of information in those books. And this is what I think he wanted to do. I think he wanted to make the world a better place. I think he wanted to bring Am Yisrael up to a higher level, to a greater level, right? That's what he wanted to do in his writings. That's what he wanted to do with the information that he encoded in his books. So Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope I have a zechut to publish his writings, the published ones, the unpublished ones, and to continue humbly to try with the kochot, with the strength that God gave me, to try humbly to continue in his footsteps to the extent that I can.